Welcome, everyone, to the ScreamCast, episode 38. I am your host, Sean DeRager, and with me, as always, by my side, through thick and thin, Brad Henderson.
Hi.
Today, it's just you and me.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of intimate, is what I used earlier, and then you laughed at me.
Intimate, and there's no alcohol involved today, so...
That's because it's extremely early.
Just coffee. This morning I'm drinking a Caramel Scream by Coffee Shop of Horrors. Check them out. coffeeshopofhorrors.com.
You and your plug.
I don't get paid anything. I don't even get free coffee to say that. I just like the coffee. I'm not only a client. Wait. I can't remember how that goes.
Just stop.
Yeah. I'm not only a spokesperson, I'm also a client. Remember those old hair commercials for Rogaine or whatever?
Yeah.
Stupid. All right. Well, today we are talking two Romero firms? Two Romero
the firms.
Films that were released recently by Scream Factory, Monkey Shines, and The Dark Half. And I believe we don't have any Blu-ray announcements, do we?
No. I mean, I think we're all caught up. I mean, there's just this stuff that's coming out tomorrow, depending on when this episode airs. It could be
tomorrow or today, depending. Yeah,
tomorrow or today.
Wait,
No,
if this is released on a Tuesday, we would say today.
Oh. Yes.
We hope to have these up on Mondays, but with the changeover to oneofus.net, we're kind of treading, seeing what will be the best method. So, but yeah.
But anyways, I think Shockwaves comes out. Yeah, this weekend. Other than I don't think anything else. Not even anything new. I'm just saying, like, for Blu-ray releases, I don't think, like, in the horror department there's not really too much other than Shockwaves,
which is fine because
which is a great release.
My wallet needs a breather, and it'll give me time to dive into Shockwaves for sure.
Yeah, no, Shockwaves Blue Underground did a fantastic job. There's a little bit of history with the transfer and the print. Apparently, there's only one print in existence, and that belongs to Ken Wiederhorn, who is the director of Shockwaves. So it's beat up, it's bruised, it's grainy, it's fucked up, but I mean they did the best they could, and it looks great, sounds great, and the special features, they did some new stuff, which is pretty cool. So highly suggest picking that up.
I'd rather have a film print look beat up and clear and enjoyable as opposed to friggin' DNR to death, which I guess was what happened with the Bruce Campbell flick Moontrap. That got a release, and it's a movie that it's a Bruce Campbell movie I haven't watched, so I've been looking forward to watching it. But apparently, some German distributor or somebody, Oliver Kreckel, basically has the only master, and he was given a 35mm print from a theater, and then he was given the masters. And since it was too expensive, he didn't want to spend the money to do the master from the negatives. I'm sorry, the original negatives. He decided to do the transfer from the 35mm beat up print, and then he just applied a shit ton of DNR. And apparently Olive Films said that they had done a brand new transfer, so everyone was thinking that, oh great, they got, they did a transfer from the negatives. Nope, they used Kreckel's master. So it looks like total shit, apparently.
Well, I do know, I think Platinum Cult Edition has released it as well, and I think there's an English track, so maybe people can pick that up. That's a German company that releases crazy shit.
He did the transfer for the German company.
Oh,
that's what he originally did. Yeah.
And for all, oh man.
So all of there's only one master apparently, and nobody has spent the money, because 88 Films is going to release it too. And apparently they're all using the same master for some odd reason. So Anyway, Olive's taking some shit, and Oliver Krekel was on Blu-ray. I think I'm getting his name right. Was on Blu-ray.com in the forums, and apparently he just got banned because he just kept on going. It was a Code Red moment. I would say he pulled a Bill Olsen because he said that grain looks bad in movies. That movie should not have grain. And I'm like, that's the wrong guy doing your transfer.
Yeah. Moving along. I don't want to talk about that dude anymore.
I'm done.
He sucks.
He sucks. Jeez. Well, anyway, so today we're talking 2 George Romero films. Both of them have kind of an interesting history with Orion Pictures. The first one we'll talk about is Monkey Shines, because that was the first kind of Romero's first dive into doing a commercial film for a big studio. And I think this is his first. These 2 are adapted works. Monkey Shines is an adaptation of a Michael Stewart novel. And then, of course, The Dark Half is an adaptation of a Stephen King novel of the same name. So,
well, I mean, it wouldn't be the first because he did Creep Show, which is or no. Creep Show was just written by Stephen King, right? I don't think it's based on any of Stephen King's.
Right, no, Creep Show was they collaborated together. I wouldn't say
another collaboration. Yeah, so he actually did 3 in a row because then you would have, what was the other movie he did? He did Two Evil Eyes as well between Monkey Shines and The Dark Half. So that would be because those are all based on Poe, or there's only 2 stories, but they're all based on works of Edgar Allan Poe. So there you go. So he started adapting. He was Kubering it. That's what I call. Because Kubrick always adapted. He didn't really do anything original too much.
Right. So that's interesting. I mean, he did 2. Did he do Two Evil Eyes for a distributor, or not a distributor, but a company?
No, because after the fail of Monkey Shines,
he went independent. Okay.
Yeah, everything else is independent. Even The Dark Half was independent. It was still distributed by Orion, but he still did that independently. I don't think that's a studio film.
Actually, I think Orion came to him because they felt bad. They had new ownership, and they felt bad about all the shit that went down with Monkey Shines. So I think they offered him another chance, but I think he had more control on picking the project. So,
gotcha.
So in a way, it was. In a way, he was finally back to a little less studio involvement. So let's talk about Monkey Shines.
A man trapped by his own body.
To Alan, to the start of his new life.
So you train monkeys exclusively for quadriplegics? How about if I were to donate a monkey?
She hasn't been exposed to anything weird in the lab.
No.
An animal trained to follow commands.
How am I supposed to take care of it, Jeff?
The idea is that it's going to take care of you.
She's unbelievable. She's like a miniature person. Get rid of that bird, or so help me.
One with the mind for revenge.
I've been so full of anger. I've had the most horrible thoughts lately.
I made up a formulation based on human memory cells I've been injecting one of my monkeys.
I don't like this change in you, Alan.
The other with the instinct to kill.
What the hell are you doing to her? Ella is getting out of the house, and I'm getting out with her.
You do know that that's impossible.
Man is the only animal capable of murder.
Ella, no!
Until now.
She did it for me. Did it because I wanted it done. Stop it!
From the director of Night of the Living Dead, George A. Romero, the master of terror and suspense.
You're not gonna hurt me. I'm part of you.
Monkey Shines, a new into terror.
Ugh.
I don't know what I was expecting from this movie. I had never
seen. Is this a first for you?
This was a first for me, and this wasn't my first jump into monkey horror. That first, I believe, was Shockma. and Shakma is a force of nature because the monkey is such a psycho. You just can't forget that. Which I'm hoping Shakma gets a Blu-ray release from Code Red, but who knows with that. But Monkey Shines tells a story of we got an athletic guy. The movie opens with he's living the slice of life. He has his hot nude wife in bed with him. Things are going good. He goes for a run and gets hit by a car.
Truck.
Truck. Yeah, not just a car. Rendering him a quadriplegic. And so that's the setup of the movie. And then for some reason, one of his friends experiments on monkeys with drugs. And his friend decides, hey, let me give you my drugged up experimental monkey. And we'll have him trained to help you. And shit goes down. That's the plot.
Just saying the plot just sounds ridiculous. Growing up, I really, really liked Monkey Shines. I don't know why, because I was content with it, and then I decided to revisit it when the Blu-ray came out, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't understand, because it's just so melodramatic,
Yeah,
like
it felt
just
very
like
daytime television.
Yeah, we have this car accident with him that shows basically just a car like 5 miles per hour coming to a halt and stops, and then a guy on a trampoline basically looks like he's jumping, spinning around, and bricks are coming out of his because he puts bricks in his book bag before he goes for the run, so the bricks are flying around. And then it just becomes like this made-for-TV Lifetime movie.
Yeah.
Until actually the monkey starts going crazy. But even when the monkey goes crazy, it doesn't – like this doesn't feel – like you could totally tell for the most part like this is a studio film. Like Romero had to probably do certain things. It was recut more than likely and just went through all this because it doesn't feel like a movie. Like I could watch this movie and realize it's not a Romero film. It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I've never.
It's just a huge fucking drama.
Yeah.
And ugh.
So I mean, it did make for some entertaining as far as I was trying to keep notes, and I took more notes on this movie than I did the Dark Half. But it's such a weird movie in the sense of the choices that it makes. Like his weird naked workout routine in the morning was just odd. I mean, I would never think to work out like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like he's like I don't
like
know
an
what you would
athlete
call
or
that
something.
position.
I don't know.
But no, I just doing that naked. It just seems like like it feels like I'm watching like a Sylvester Stallone, Dolph Lundgren action movie where they would do something like that. It is just completely out of place.
It's like they wanted to do that. But did you ever see that Seinfeld episode where he's saying that like there's certain positions you shouldn't see your significant other in naked?
Yeah,
and he sees his girlfriend or whatever doing yoga or something like that naked. And it ruins the whole relationship. Like that's kind of they're going for the Stallone thing, the 80s, thing. They're going for the in Die Hard 2 where what's the actor's name?
Bruce Willis?
No, the bad guy and
Hans Gruber?
No. Die Hard 2.
Oh, Die Hard 2.
William. No. Dang it. Total brain blank. Anyway, moving along. But they wanted
to look it up. I'll look it up.
It's like
I hate Die Hard 2, so
I fucking love Die Hard 2.
William Atherton?
No. Oh, here we go. See?
I don't know who the bad guy is in Die Hard 2. I hate it. I know Franco Nero's in it. William Sadler.
William Sadler.
Oh, he's the bad guy?
He's the bad guy, and you're first introduced to him naked in a hotel room, doing like kung fu shit.
Oh,
But he's
that's right.
But he's like badass. Like, it's like
it's just that fits the movie because that's who we're dealing with. We're dealing with like. Why do we have to, why can't we see him like just breaking some eggs and putting them in a glass?
Exactly. Why do we
actually have to see him like what part does he just get naked? Why would you sit on carpet naked?
I don't know.
Like, carpet's dirty. Get some sweats on. Like, get your workout outfit on. Like, I don't know what understand you're naked for. And but no, I mean, it's at times it feels like it's a comedy, like kind of stuff like that, and it's hard. It's hard to actually take the movie seriously.
Yeah.
Because even during the rage of so-called rage from the monkey, it's just not exciting. It's not scary. It's
no Shockma rage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the difference between this. I mean, we have Shockma, which is an ape, and then we have a monkey,
a little monkey.
And I mean, an ape alone is just dangerous because it's fucking an ape. They're super strong. Monkeys, like this little thing. I mean, it's cute. Like it has like a good like when it starts helping out in the relationship between Ella, which is the monkey's name, between Ella and our what's his name, Jason Allen or whatever his name is. I can't remember.
Alan Mann.
Stupid
name.
The relationship between Ella and Alan work out. Like it's cute, it's fun, and we actually make that kind of a the chemistry and emotional connection between the two. Mm-hmm. But it only lasts for so long because we're surrounded by all this melodrama bullshit that's happening. Like the stuff with the mother, the stuff with, the girlfriend. Like, why is the mother just such a bitch sometimes?
Dude, the nurse too, man.
Yeah, I mean,
worst
we have the
nurse of the year.
Yeah, we have the nurse go in. Like, it would have been better if Alan would have alienated everybody and only took Ella's side instead of just becoming mean.
Yeah.
Like there was no determination of why he is so angry with everybody for them just trying to actually help.
It's like everyone's trying to help, but everyone.
Why do the people hate the monkey? Like I don't understand. Yeah. Like there's just this hatred from the couple people about the monkey. Like he doesn't want to let his mother know that he's dating the girl. And it's like. It just comes out of nowhere. It's like needless drama for filler for this movie.
Yeah.
And it separates the horror aspect, which even like the horror aspect doesn't even come in until like the last, I would say 5-10 minutes. And even so, we're dealing with a quadriplegic. Shit, I can't say. Thanks, Sean. We're dealing with him, trying to get through the night. But it just becomes just comical.
Yeah,
and I mean, you're not like physically laughing, but it's just like you're sitting there watching this and like, what the hell is going on? Like, there's no terror involved in this. Now, the only thing you could move would be your head, and you had a sinister monkey going around, and obviously has killed a couple people basically, that is threatening. I mean, it would be terrifying. Even just not just moving your head alone would be terrifying. But they didn't take that aspect. They took this dramatic aspect, and then they mixed this fucking telekinesis in with the monkey. And when the telekinesis comes in, it's like, at what part? Why is that happening?
Because of the drug that.
No, I understand. Like they're administering the drug to the monkey, which makes the monkey smarter. It's
it doesn't really set
fine.
It up.
But what is Alan being injected with?
Nothing.
Like just because he has emotional connection with the monkey. It creates a line for telekinesis for him to control the monkey. And did you see his teeth?
Yeah, his teeth start getting sharp at certain points.
Yeah, at one point it's like he becomes the monkey, and I think that's ultimately like what it's supposed to happen is that there's such a bond between them that he is channeling the monkey is channeling him, but. It doesn't make a goddamn bit of sense because they throw that in there in this Lifetime drama, and like if that would have continued, like if that would have been the whole movie, like him with the monkey, with the telekinesis and channeling each other, and then he becomes the monkey becomes him. That would be a little bit more believable, even though that sounds insane. Like I would have bought that a little bit more. But we're thrown into that at the last 10 minutes, and it just feels completely out of place. Yeah. That kind of feels like a Romero film, but at the same time, it's just so bland.
Yeah, it definitely feels very studio. What did you think of Stanley Tucci? And we got a young Stanley Tucci here. He plays a great smug asshole doctor. Yeah, I made a note here.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I made a note here. Doctor makes a hairy ass joke in the operating room. Asshole. First, what a jerk. But he's great. And then once back to the beginning, once his then wife, once he's out of the hospital, says that I should have visited you more at the hospital, I wrote down banging someone else.
Yeah,
and, the setups are very a predictable Lifetime drama type stuff.
Yeah, no, it's just like I said, it's just very bland. And the thing that's disappointing is that like 10 years or so before this, Romero had Martin, which is a really good dramatic horror film. Who about a kid believes he's a vampire. Mm-hmm. And it's mixed with drama and horror evenly. And it works. And I mean, the movie's a little bit more on the slow side, but the horror and drama are mixed evenly to where we're actually involved with what's the outcome of the movie during the movie, the plot, the relationships, everything we can relate to. In Monkey Shines, it's just like a turn of events happens so quickly. Like every 30-minute mark, something crazy happens, but there was no build up to it. That's what it feels like to me. So.
Martin had elements of horror that had weight. I feel like when they happened, you're like, holy shit! Like that Monkey Shines just seemed very. I mean, like I said, it seems very studio. If you look at most studio horror films. I mean, look at all the bullshit ghost haunting movies we see, and you know what I mean. Like the big studio releases for guys like us normally are pretty bland. And this felt very. It was very bloodless, and it just you didn't feel the weight of this monkey. Like, oh, so what? The monkey can can contribute to your death. But it didn't have like that weight. Like, oh shit, here comes the monkey.
It's not you're even terrified of the monkey. The monkey is just the monkey is an asshole. Is how it all plays out.
It's a little bitch. Well, it's a little. It's caught in kind of like a love triangle. Like they try to set up this love triangle, a little bit,
and then they just fail.
They totally, they abandon it because they had the setup there with when he develops that romantic relationship with the trainer Melanie, played by Kate McNeil. They had their moments to really set up a weird love triangle and to really explore that. But yeah, that gets dropped. Just they dropped that for just Psycho Monkey, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and there's there's actually an interesting sex scene in the movie,
especially for its time.
Yeah, it actually works. Like you get to you see that emotional connection and that bonding between Alan and what's her name again? Melanie.
Yep.
Like even though it's quadriplegic sex, but it works.
She had the setup, man. She had the bar up top that she can hoist herself up and sit on his face.
It sounds whoa.
Well, that's what happened.
It sounds comical, but it actually works. It's actually a decent scene in the movie.
It does, and
it's not too revealing.
No.
It's very classy, but it honestly it feels completely different for me from what we're going, because we actually didn't have a relationship between Alan and Melanie. It was like they got together just for the sake of the part of the movie. There was no
it's a bit forced.
Yeah, and there's actually better chemistry, which I think that's what they were going for, between Ella and Alan. Mm-hmm. But there should have been dual chemistry between a lot of people, and his mother. Like he's always apprehensive about his mother. Like he doesn't really go obviously she cares about him. She's done nothing wrong. She's not overbearing. She just cares.
Yeah.
But we're given the impression that she's a bitch because of how Alan treats her and how he speaks to her. But in all, it's because of the channeling from the monkey, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, it's just rough.
Yeah.
It's just a rough storyline with rough characters that's just not smooth. It doesn't flow. It doesn't work. And it's just too much drama. That's what this movie is, and it's actually disappointing because Romero is one of my favorite directors, and watching this movie growing up and loving it, and then revisiting just now was just kind of, and almost in a point was devastating because I was like, wait, what part did I actually like? Because there's no good characters. There's no gore. There's no horror.
You just like the sex scene.
I guess so. That's
Maybe.
that's what embedded in my head, and that's why I like the movie. You're right, Sean. Good job.
Well, I mean, I was thinking about that too. Like, if I would have saw this in the '80s, would I have remembered it? And I probably, like, thinking of all the things I saw in the '80s, and especially in '88, we have the remake of The Blob. That was '88, right? What else did I see that year? I saw so many good movies that year that if I would have seen this would have been forgettable, compared to everything else that I saw. But
and usually that doesn't happen with me. Like, if I see a movie when I was younger and I enjoyed it and I haven't revisited it in a few years, like, either I'll still like it or I'll like it more, but I very seldom, and it's kind of funny that we're talking about this because I had the exact same opposite with The Dark Half that we're going to be talking about very, very soon. I loved Monkey Shines as a kid, but I hated The Dark Half. But after revisiting both last week, I really like The Dark Half, and I do not like Monkey Shines. Like, I can't actually find any redeeming qualities for Monkey Shines. Like, I'm at a loss to actually say that other than the chemistry between Ella and Alan, that works very, very well, but that segment is only probably 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because he's like, hey man, it's like she's wonderful. It's like a little person, and like does all these things, like, and actually this one of my favorite scenes is like when he says to call his friend. Yeah. And Ella, like, in the film, there's a telephone, and then Ella can put in these cards, and these cards will dial the person. Well, his friend, who's Jeffrey is his name. Yeah. He says call Jeffrey, and Jeffrey's in the room, and then like Ella picks up the card and looks at Jeffrey and just like won't put it, and she's confused because how are you going to call somebody when he's here? Yeah. It's actually a really, really good moment. But like there's just a couple moments in the movie, and it's not worth. And this movie's 2 hours long. Yeah.
What did you think of one of my other favorite scenes was with the kind of character actor Stephen Root? And everyone knows him as Milton from Office Space, but he's also had a pretty good role in. I really like him in True Blood. I really liked his role when he came on that show.
Did you just throw True Blood out there?
I did.
You watched True Blood?
True Blood seasons 1 and 2. Everything else sucks. But anyway,
you watched True Blood.
I watched True Blood. I do not anymore. But anyway, back to the actor, Stephen Root. I like the scene of where his friend Jeffrey confronts Stephen Root's character in the hospital or wherever this research facility, right? And he just plays this like sadistic, researcher who just doesn't give a shit about animals and wants to can't wait to take them apart, basically. Like, I liked that introduction of that character. I was like, I want to see more of this guy. Like, this guy is more of an interesting. I thought he would play like a larger role. Yeah,
he's needless. He's a throwaway character. He has no point. Like, there's no point for that character exist in the movie. Like, other than the things that he steals from Jeffrey. Yeah. Other than that, there's nothing and no reason why. And that's the thing, is like he's thrown in there just to keep the movie longer. Like, it seems like the studio was like, hey, we want a 2-hour monkey drama, do it. And that's what happened. Yeah. Because I think this is like this was Stephen Root's first movie, right, or something like that.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I like that actor though.
I know he was in Black Rain, and that was like 89. But yeah, I want to actually say this is his, either his first or second movie. But of course, they probably didn't know, because the guy actually does have range, even though he is comical. He actually is a good actor, and they should have utilized Stephen Root's character, because it actually is a decent character, like Sean said. But it's just not. It's just not used.
I wonder if it's a character that was set up more and had more to do in the book, and it's one of those characters that they kind of threw in there, but they didn't.
Kind of like a nod, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never read the book, and I just haven't really had. Not that it really ever intrigued me.
Yeah. Stephen Root's first movie, according to IMDb, is Crocodile Dundee 2.
What was it? Was the second Monkey Shines?
It was all the same year. So either depending, when movies are released, like depending, when they were shot, who knows? So yeah, it was probably.
And then he did Black Rain.
So I'm done talking about Monkey Shines. Really, the thing that I feel like why I'm glad that I have it in my collection as kind of because.
Yeah, I still would have bought it.
Well, but because of the making of and George Romero's, like, he has a commentary on here, and he gets to explain all the shit that went wrong, in Monkey Shine. So as a piece of like George Romero history, as an example of like his one studio encounter that went horribly wrong, I think is an interesting thing. I don't know if I'll ever really revisit the movie again other than listening to the commentary, because I love hearing him talk. He's another one of those directors that is like,
he's a good storyteller.
Love hearing him talk.
And his mind and his memory is so sharp and keen. Yeah. And it's funny, even though the dude's been through a lot and a lot of hell. I mean, this is one director that's been through the fucking wash, that has tried to get numerous projects off the ground, that just kept failing, but never gave up. Who just takes light of the situation. Like, even, he could have been a billionaire with Night of the Living Dead, but since, they fucked up with that movie and he never saw a dime of money from it, he just takes light of that whole situation. And even though that does suck for him, very, very, very hard, but, he can make light of the whole situation. He saw his mistake, and he regrets it. But he's just a good storyteller. He's just a good guy. Like, he's fun. He never turns down his fans. He's always willing to talk to people. I met him at a convention. He was just overly nice. So there's a lot of factors that play into why I would still buy this and why I would probably watch it again. Was just for the sake of it being a Romero film. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's just me.
Yeah. Cool. All right, well, let's jump into his next...
we need to talk about to get the transfer out of the way and stuff, because I want to talk about the transfer.
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
Everything's pink. It pissed me off.
What? Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. The transfer's just mediocre. Like, there's just... Everybody looks pink through the whole entire film. Like,
really?
There's
I didn't
just
notice
this pinkish color. And I don't know. I actually think the Netflix HD thing that's available now is better, because I actually put that on.
Yeah.
I played the Scream Blue, and then I put in because I was watching, I was like, man, this doesn't look like your normal Scream Factory product, even though they've had some bombs in the past. I would think that this one, since they work directly with Romero kind of on this, with the commentaries and special features, it would look really, really good. And I just noticed, it was just kind of whatever. And I put the Netflix one thing in, and it honestly, it was a little bit more clear to me, it seemed.
Huh.
Like, the colors weren't, I guess you'd say, saturated. But yeah, everything was kind of pinkish.
I didn't notice that. I mean, I just kind of assumed, like I said, this felt like a very Lifetime movie. I was like, well, maybe that's how they shot it. I didn't really.
Yeah, and all the blacks were kind of like pixelated and stuff. I don't know. Yeah, it just wasn't like I said. The Netflix thing was a lot better.
Yeah,
and But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not like anything where I would throw it down and say, fuck this Blu-ray.
It's not like it's no Moontrap.
But yeah, I just wasn't. I was expecting more because usually that's how Scream Factory works. Like the ones that they just release that really don't have a lot of special features, like the transfers are just bland or subpar, just okay. Usually when a director's directly involved with bringing the Blu-ray to the table and special features, it usually seems they'll go out of their way to work. But I mean, you have all these companies, and this is the question I actually wanted to raise. I don't know if we've actually discussed this before, but Scream Factory, you have companies like Kino, who's Scorpion Kino now, Vinegar Syndrome, Synapse, all these guys that have the print. Even Blue Underground, they have the print. They do a 2K, 4K transfer depending on what it was filmed on, whether 16 or 35. But Scream never says anything like that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they don't.
They don't say it's a 2K transfer. They don't say it's a 4K transfer. It seems like all they do is fucking HD masters.
Yeah,
not on everything. Because of course Nightbreed wouldn't be the case because Barker had the print. But to me, this seems like another, like just a Ravenous, like an HD transfer.
Oh, yeah,
they take what's already out there, like whatever I guess Orion had it, or because Orion just started it up again. But putting films out, like, did they use that HD master that even Netflix has and just polished it up? Because there's nothing about the transfer or what they do.
Yeah, I'm always surprised by that because
like other companies will physically put on the box art like 2K transfer from the original negative.
Yeah,
and when you watch those movies, they look really good. And other companies will say, well, all we could get was the HD master. Like even Blue Underground said, this is a 2K transfer from the, and they were just honest about it. They were like, this is a 2K transfer from, Wiederhorn's collection. The audio's all fucked up, so all we're doing is 1.0. Like it's not going to sound fantastic. It's going to look really gritty. It's going to look beat up. But they're honest, and it makes me want to buy the product. Like not Monkey Shines, but Scream Factory, it's always kind of like a guessing game. What is the transfer going to look like? We can never anticipate it.
Yeah.
Like with Vinegar Syndrome, they'll say, hey, Christmas Evil's a brand new transfer, the 2K scan, and we can anticipate what that movie's going to look like. We can almost anticipate that it's going to look good.
Mm-hmm.
But Scream Factory, it's always a fucking guessing game until you put the Blu-ray in your fucking Blu-ray player.
I think the biggest...
And it's actually starting to kind of piss me off.
Well, the biggest frustration for me was...
That's one of the reasons why we switched it up here.
Yeah.
At the same time.
The biggest frustration for me, I think, was when Ravenous came out. And we never got a chance to talk about Ravenous on the show, but that it looks okay, but God, like that's been a movie that people have been pining for a new transfer for years because the DVD was just shit. And when we first had our Scream Factory goggles on, I'll say that they can do no wrong. Like this was the first instance.
Yeah, it was the same way.
This was the first instance of like, wow, like they didn't do anything. Like they took the master and gave it a 16:9 transfer HD, but that's it. Like they didn't do any restoration at all. And as a huge fan of Ravenous, I felt like that film deserved better. I was like, well,
yeah, no, totally. But they're going the cheap route with everything. I guarantee you, because that's why they announced fucking like 30 titles during the month of October, which was cool. I loved it. I'm not going to lie on that. But I can only imagine putting out this many titles. They're not doing new transfers on this stuff.
Only on the collector's edition.
Collector's edition. That's what I was going to say. On the collector's editions, they probably are doing new transfers. Mm-hmm. And doing, because I would even say Slumber Party Massacre was one of those where they did a new transfer because that looked gorgeous. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not, I don't. It's not like shit on Scream Factory Day, but
no, just being real about it.
Yeah, I just think that they, they're getting a lot of praise for the titles they're putting out. They shouldn't be getting the praise for the work. on some of these movies.
Yeah.
Because stuff like Monkey Shines, it does not look good. There's going to be a better Monkey Shines transfer at some point in time. There will be. And the thing is with Blu-ray, with the technology they can do, it's not going to get better than a 2K or 4K transfer.
Yeah. The
only thing that's going to get better is special features. And those might get less because obviously the filmmakers and everybody behind the films will pass away in time to come. So, like, why not put forth this will be the last release you'll ever buy? You know, because you'll never buy another copy of Christmas Evil because Vinegar Syndrome did the best they possibly could.
I can't wait to talk about that one.
And a lot of stuff that they do and the Blue Underground stuff. Like, you know, these guys are doing, like, they actually have the physical product. They're not doing something that's supplied by a studio. They're doing their own transfer. And I think that's where Scream Factory is making their money because they're doing this raid to MGM vaults. Mm-hmm. They're getting what they can for HD masters. They're polishing them up and then shoving them out there.
Yeah. And
it's becoming, honestly, kind of what happened with DVDs. Because DVDs were getting, you know, it looked better. They were doing new transfers of everything. And then everybody was like, oh, shit, DVD's it. So let's just put everything that we have, like VHS, right on a DVD and sell it. Ugh. And that's what started happening. And I was hoping that this wouldn't happen with Blu-ray, but it's getting closer. It's more and more. Yeah. And it's almost like it's upsetting because, I mean, you can put a price. Of course, Scream Factory titles cost anywhere between $18 to $25. And, you know, luckily you have people like us that will just kind of be honest with you because, I mean, we're not being paid from any of these companies. We're not, you know, of course, I'm, you know, suck Vinegar Syndrome's dick all the time. But that's because they do good work. Like, you show me something subpar from Vinegar Syndrome and then I'll listen. But they don't. Even their DVDs look great. But, you know, it's upsetting because you don't know what you're going to get. You know, it's your hard money for something that you could easily watch on Netflix.
So, yeah, totally. Exactly. And the only thing, like, I think this Blu-ray's the only saving grace is the commentary and the documentary. Otherwise, I would say, like, I think right now it's like $22. I think that's too pricey for this disc. I would say, you know, if you wanted to buy it for the commentary,
$17.99 disc.
Is it $17.99 now? No, that's how much you'd pay. I would say, that or $15. You know, I wouldn't tell anyone to spend $20.
Sean, buy in Pompeii at the fucking impulse buyout at Publix.
Hell yeah.
Oh, wait, no, you don't have Publix there. What's your grocery store?
It was at Vaughn's, man.
Vaughn's? Yeah, buying fucking impulse thing. Was I right? You buy it at the grocery store?
Yeah, dude.
You fucker.
It was impulse buy.
You dumb shit.
I regretted it. But, dude, I keep saying this. I sold it for the exact same price I bought it for.
No,
so
I know.
You know, it's like I got it for free to watch.
But you fucking sucker.
I was a sucker, totally. Well, anyway, enough about me. Let's move into talking about the dark half.
Thad Beaumont has a secret.
I know all about it.
A piece of himself he keeps hidden.
You just don't want to give up George. You become attached to him.
Locked away until he needs it.
These behaviors could be interpreted as schizophrenia.
Away from the light, safe in the shadows.
I wrote those words, and I have no recollection of doing it.
But sometimes secrets take on a life of their own. Thad Beaumont thought he didn't need George Stark anymore.
The American way of death.
That's it.
He served his purpose. Time to lay him to rest. But George is not about to go quietly.
You really don't realize what you're like when you write those books, do you? It's like watching Jekyll turn into Hyde.
We're here to question you in connection with a capital crime.
Evidence says you did it.
George Stark has somehow come to life.
Hello, George.
I can come closer to believe a ghost story than this. You're talking about a man who never was.
No! He wants to take over your life. Can't you see that?
Based upon a book by Stephen King comes George A. Romero's masterful vision of a nightmare come true.
Are you ready? Just waiting on you.
The Dark Half.
Which is by far I'm surprised that I didn't like this, but I see why I didn't like it when I saw it when I was younger. It's because it is intricate. It's more story driven. We have another drama, but we also kind of have a murder mystery. It feels like it's from the 50s. We have this badass motherfucker, George Stark, who Timothy Hutton plays dual roles in this movie. Like he plays Thad Beaumont, who is a writer who kind of make ends meet in the time of his writing, but he actually has this another alias, George Stark, who's a really gritty, crime, dirty, filthy world, and just it's just a menacing character or a menacing author who's writing these books. But it's just like Timothy Hutton's a really good actor, really good, by the way. Like he takes both of these roles on and does it with ease. Like nothing feels forced. Nothing feels like because I mean you look at Timothy Hutton, you're like, oh, he looks like a I don't know. He just looks like a Tim Matheson guy. Yeah. He just looks like, oh, Tim Matheson can only be one role. But he's actually a decent actor, especially in this. As George Stark, he's fucking great.
Yeah. What's your relationship with Stephen King? Are you a fan of Stephen King books?
Huge
fan. He was one of the first authors I just started reading like religiously. And so I was reading up about The Dark Half, and apparently it's a response to because Stephen King had a pseudonym. He was writing as Richard Bachman. Yeah, and kind of the same thing, a little more grittier and a little more off the wall. I think were the Richard Bachman books.
Yeah, I mean his first book by Richard Bachman. It's actually not. I think it's available like in a set, but. Stephen King doesn't want that book out anywhere. Huh. It's actually about a school shooting. It's called Rage.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's really, really, really good. But yeah, they I want to say like it's in a set of something that you can possibly get cheaper, but like if you ever actually find that, I mean, there's only been one edition. It's the he wanted it out of print. So if you can find the actual paperback, it's worth a fuck ton of money. Huh. But they actually had like there's people that have uploaded. That's how I read it. Was they uploaded the pages on online and you can read it there. But man, it's really, really good. But it's very gritty. It's very disturbing. Mm-hmm. So I mean, of course, Stephen
King still writes about some fucked up shit, but
no, it's just a little bit different. He had of course The Running Man, which is more sci-fi as Richard Bachman. He had what else did he have? He had Thinner. Mm-hmm. Which made into a movie in the 90s, I guess, right? 90s,
yeah, something like that. It was okay.
And I know he did Blaze, which was I think one of his like most recent and his last one, and that was like 2007. Yeah, but it's. I mean, he has all kinds of dark things, but I don't know. I don't know the reason why he Richard Bachman existed.
Right. I mean that's the thing. Like he explores that relationship between him and his pseudonym or whatever in The Dark Half, and of course it's a lot. It's elevated in The Dark Half, but he explores that kind of duality between Stephen King and Richard Bachman through this movie. Same type of scenario, and so he was kind of outed the same way too. He didn't want to stop writing as Richard Bachman. He was kind of found out, and so he was forced to. But I think, but at the time was he right? I don't know. I mean, Stephen King's such an interesting person. We could probably spend a whole podcast.
Was he writing when he wrote the Dark Half book?
No,
he's still writing as Richard Bachman.
No, he wasn't. Not when The Dark Half. The Dark Half was his response to, to being called out, basically.
Yeah, but Richard Bachman still existed. He wrote a book in 2007.
Oh, did he?
As
Okay.
Richard Bachman. Yeah.
Okay.
So no, it continued.
Okay.
He
Gotcha. He just wasn't keeping it a secret. Everyone knew. Oh, Richard Bachman, Stephen King, whatever.
Yeah. No. Then he just took on that persona.
Gotcha.
Like that's what he wrote as.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So the dark half, that's an interesting element, and the movie's a very Stephen King. You know, I think Romero wanted to be as true to the source material as he possibly could. I don't know if that's to the movie's fault. I think maybe in some instances it could be, but this is a Stephen King movie. Like, it has Stephen King's voice.
It oozes
you know?
Stephen King. Yeah. I think the translation from book to script to movie was very, very well done. I mean, and this isn't the first time that Romero and King have worked together, so I think they understand each other really, really well, and he knew exactly what King wanted, because through and through the whole entire film feels like you're reading a book.
Yeah.
It's very descriptive. The characters, this is my thing with Stephen King, because you brought up, am I a fan of Stephen King? I'm a huge fan of Stephen King, and for many reasons. I understand there's this thing with Stephen King that he writes at a level that everybody can read. I agree with that. You know, but Stephen King is a phenomenal writer. Yes, I said phenomenal.
I think so. No, I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I'm more of his early work, but you know.
He's a great his articles, like one reason why I got Entertainment Weekly is because he had an article in the end, like every month he had an article in Entertainment Weekly that was just funny, or it was just it was just his life, or something he was going through, or just something he liked, his top favorite movies, his music, his songs, whatever, and he's just a very good writer. And the reason why I think his books are really, really well done, and yes, he does write at a a 10th grade level or whatever people want to say, and that's fine, but Stephen King writes in character, and that's one thing I like about him, is that whenever anybody's speaking in the book, you know exactly who it is. Yeah. Because everybody has a different voice. And a lot of writers are good at this, but Stephen King takes that character and writes as that character, which I really, really like. Just the way they'll speak is the way he'll write. Yeah. He'll use the wrong, he'll say is instead of are. He'll use, just bad grammar. But that's part of that, It's like George Liebe from Liebe or whatever it's from Christine. Just the way that character talks in that book, it's just, you just feel dirty, And I think Stephen King's a really good writer with that type of thing. He's very good at taking on that character. So this movie's more fun because you actually see that. One of my favorite moments in the movie is when he's talking to the guy from People magazine, and he tells him how he writes as George Stark. And he says, this is where it happens. The typewriter is for Thad Beaumont. George Stark uses a pen and paper, or a pencil and a paper, and he writes it like here. And then there's this awkward exchange between I don't want to give anything away because I actually really like the exchange. And I think this is a movie that people haven't seen. Is that there's just this really mean and sinister exchange between the two because he becomes George Stark in that moment. And even just the conversation with his wife, she says, I don't like when you write as him because you become a different person, and he says, well, that's who George Stark is. He's a drinker, he's a smoker, he's violent, and part of me, really like that because it's like, maybe that's how King wrote these books because yes, they are still Stephen King books. They feel like Stephen King books, but they are more, a couple things are more sinister. Even the Running Man's a sci-fi action thing. And, of course, the movie plays with similar tones as the book did. But it is this weird dystopian, sinister attitude that the book has. And they only do that a little bit in the movie. So maybe that's why he wrote under the pseudonym of Richard Bachman. I don't know. That's his own reason. Maybe that's just what he felt that would be a Richard Bachman, or that's who he became, and that's the product he produced at that time. Maybe he didn't have an idea, but Richard Bachman did.
Right,
I don't know.
right. That's interesting.
I think it's a cool concept and cool idea.
Yeah. So the setup to the Dark Half, the plot, very very briefly, is this writer writes as George Stark, and then he also writes as himself. But he has a more of a, he's a works at a college. He's a professor, and then someone comes in they want to out him, basically kind of blackmail him because he doesn't want anyone knowing he is George Stark. So basically that guy who tried blackmailing him turns up dead, and his fingerprints are at the scene of the crime. What's his name, Thad, and
well, you did mention that the guy that plays the guy who's Fred Clausen, who is played by Robert Joy, and people will know that face because that guy has a crazy look, and he's a good actor. He's very serial killer-ish, I would say. Like you feel like he is the bad guy in the movie at first.
Well, yeah, I mean he takes a small role, and basically carries the rest of the movie. You know what I mean? Because he's so good. Like he really sets up the tone for the character, and he sets the order of events moving. He's the catalyst for everything that happens after. And has he been anything else?
Who? Robert Joy?
He's been in a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
He's a character actor, so I couldn't tell you which movies he's been in, but you see his face, and
he pops up a lot. I mean, he's not like a lead guy,
right?
Type guy, but he was in, of course, he was in Land of the Dead. Mm-hmm. I do know that. He's partnered with Romero. He was in the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. He's been in a lot of horror. I think early on he was in a lot of horror films. Yeah. I know he's in Waterworld. I know he's in Waterworld. But no, I mean he's in a lot of shit. There's no need to.
He's a good character actor. A lot of TV. So yeah, he's got something good going. Who else is in this flick that we need to mention? We need to mention Michael Rooker.
Yeah.
And normally he's playing some sort of, sleazy badass or whatever, or
he's always a badass.
But in this movie, he's a good guy, and I know that when it was like Romero was trying to cast him, and the studio didn't want him in the role because they were like, no, he's kind of typecast as a bad guy. We don't want Michael Rooker in this film. But I like him in this kind of good guy role, but he does have that edge, to his character. And as being a sheriff, you kind of need someone with that edge.
No, yeah. I mean, he plays a sheriff, which is also it's kind of funny because they did a really good job because in Needful Things, which is another Stephen King novel brought to screen, Ed Harris plays that exact same sheriff, Alan Panghorn. Yeah, it's a reoccurring sheriff in Stephen King's books because everything takes place in Castle Rock is the town. Cujo, the Dead Zone. The Body, Needful Things, The Dark Half, they all take place in Castle Rock. It's just his little town. I think that's honestly what gives the movie a little bit more feeling is that if you follow those types of things like I do, when you're going to Castle Rock, you could just say you're going to Castle Rock in this movie, and already the setting is set up for you.
Yeah, totally.
It's dark, it's rainy, it's depressing, and bad things will happen. And that really works. But yeah, Michael Rooker does a really, really good job of playing kind of a buddy.
Yeah.
You know, like he's like, even though you don't want to cross him, you don't want to fuck with him because you know he'll take your ass down. Like he shows a really, really sensitive, like, hey buddy, let's talk. Because like when he comes in the room and like he has the beer and he's in his sheriff outfit and he's like, I'm not here on business, I just want to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, shit. You know, that's a really good scene. You know, that's a really badass, like, you know, and that's why I tell people, you know, other writers and people, you know, help them with their screenplays. Because I'm been a writer for a long time, is that just certain little things like that can change your character completely. You know, you can have a character that people are on the fence about, but he does one thing that's good or bad, it can change your whole perspective on things.
Yeah.
You know, there's that scene where he goes into that home. He enters the home as not the sheriff, but as kind of a friend, just to talk, and has a beer and just kind of shoots bullshit. That really works in this movie.
Yeah.
And it brings you closer to it. It also builds chemistry. Even though kind of Timothy Hutton and his the woman that plays his wife that plays Liz, it's kind of a mismatch on people, but the chemistry between them works so well, like you really believe that they're married.
Yeah.
And I really dig that too. And a lot of this movie is very, very in the script. It's very character driven. Because that's who we rely on, because everything is happening until like the big events towards the end. It becomes, you know, pretty eventful, but like trying to prove your innocence and trying to prove what is actually happening to just these people. I mean, because of course we're talking about, you know, there's a big fantasy.
Right. You have to accept kind of the fantastic elements.
You have to accept what's going on. And I mean, it might be a little difficult for some, and I imagine that's why this film didn't do too well, is because you have an alter ego going on that exists.
Right.
Like, it's not with inside. It actually, you know, it's created into a world. And, you know, I like that element. You know, something with so much love and so much hate, a force is generated to actually put this thing in existence. I think it's a cool concept. I mean, it's out there for sure, but that's Stephen King for you.
Yeah.
You know, so this is actually a Stephen King novel I haven't read, but I do own. So I'm actually excited to go back to see if these characters kind of translated well onto screenplay to film.
Cool.
And kind of a, you know, more exposition on especially the sheriff. I'd like to know a little bit more about him. But
what's interesting here, comparing, you know, Monkey Shines to The Dark Half, is like these are both examples of kind of storytelling, you know, different ways to you know, to do a 2-hour very character driven and plot driven film, whereas Monkey Shines comes across, because they're trying to do all this character stuff and all this, you know, comes across as like a Lifetime movie and just doesn't work on that level. Whereas The Dark Half, it takes its time with everything. You know, shit doesn't go down to the last. You know, some stuff happens, but I mean, like, it gets
it becomes
crazy.
Kind of a slasher in a way at times too.
Yeah,
like,
but
there's some really, really good moments in this movie.
Yeah, but it takes its time, I think, to establish the characters really well. And you actually care about this guy's world and his family, and that's trying to be ripped apart by his alter ego. And you know, you don't know. You don't know exactly. Is it just him? Is this, you know? You actually care about, like, the twins. Those babies are like really, you know, they found the right kids for that part. You know.
Yeah.
Because you just care. You see that he cares for his family. That his marriage is tested and flawed a little bit, but you know, he's going to fight to keep his family together no matter what. So I just feel like this movie dramatically works on a whole other level than Monkey Shines. But I think, like we've said, this Orion Pictures brought him on to do this as a kind of a, hey, we're sorry we fucked you over with Monkey Shines.
Yeah.
But you can tell that Romero had more of a say and and they didn't meddle.
Yeah, this is definitely not. This is definitely not a like a studio film. Like this is very much Stephen King, Romero flick.
Yeah,
like they got away with a lot of things. If this was a studio film, they wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah,
that's just how it is. But I really, really like because I mean, there's always this kind of sense of dread and haunting throughout the film once George Stark, appears and comes into play. But the last 5 minutes are like become kind of a haunted house movie in a way. It's very like Ghost-esque. It seems. I don't know. That's just how I felt. Maybe it's all the birds.
Yes. But it gets batshit in the end there.
Yeah,
but I feel like it kind of earned it. Excuse me, because at first, the first, and I don't want to spoil anything at all, but the first part of the the last reel or the last final confrontation is just these two alter egos sitting in a room writing. And when that first happens, I was like, oh shit, here we go. This is not the way to bring in your main conflict. Let's have a little write-off. It's a write-off. And but I think that it for me, I was kind of rolled my eyes a little bit, but I think they kind of earn it. They earn that batshit ending. I think there's nowhere else to go. I mean, you have to, they had to go there. But yeah, I want to see what was translated. If this is a pretty faithful adaptation, I would love to read the book now.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to check that out. I have it on my shelf. I'll get around to it. I have like all Stephen King books. I just have read probably like 75%. Yeah. I'm not too big on his fantasy movies, and I think that's kind of probably why I stayed away. But yeah, I'm excited about it.
When I imagine Brad, when we're talking, and because we've never hung out in person, but I imagine you have greased slick back hair, and you carry a straight razor.
If I had hair,
and drink straight up whiskey,
it would be slick back. And I only drink whiskey when we're talking about the burning,
right?
Which I can't do anymore, apparently. So
right, yeah. But what do you think about that? Like, it's they kind of
It's Elvis, man.
To make a bad character, they bring in the whole rockabilly thing, and all of a sudden, let me slick my hair back. Yeah. And I mean, I was just watching the movie Trancers the other day, and the character, the main character is like this badass cop, right, with slick back hair, and he's kind of on edge, But when he goes back in time, he goes back into an ancestor's, how the time travel works in that movie, and the first thing he does is find some grease, slick back his hair,
Yeah,
to get badass. That's fine. I found that element kind of funny, but like with this movie, you kind of have to just roll with stuff, because it is kind of comical. He has to do a costume change to be badass, but his badass.
I was hoping that there would be more of kind of like a better score whenever he would come onto screen. And I don't know. It kind of like a failed opportunity, They
needed some of that Robert Rodriguez like guitar, or that not Robert Rodriguez. Who am I thinking of? It's like that 50s and 60s kind of rockabilly swing type, swanky kind of. You know what I mean? Dirty swanky type. That guitar sound. I don't know.
Yeah, kind of like a twang.
Yeah.
Rockabilly, psychobilly type.
Yeah, something like that.
But
they needed, this basically the soundtrack of Slumber Party Massacre 2, right?
Probably not that jumpy, but something. It needed something.
Yeah, so. But I mean that character, he's a psycho, greaser,
Oh, well, that's kind of negative, but okay.
Greasers, the movie The Outsiders, Greasers. Come on, 50s. Never mind. I did make a note that Timothy Hutton kind of starts going to Michael Keaton Beetlejuice mode towards the end of the film. Did you get that vibe?
No, because I hate Beetlejuice.
There's a few instances where he kind of has the look in his eye. I'm like, he's going for a Michael Keaton there. But maybe that was just me.
I agree. I guess. I don't know.
Shut up. You don't have to agree.
I don't know.
I'm surprised that I ended up liking The Dark Half more than Monkey Shines when I first started it. I mean, I texted you. I texted you 2 fucking hours. You kidding me?
Yeah.
So I'd paused it to get a drink, and I saw that I had like an hour and a half left. After half an hour, I was like, "Oh my god!" But I think this, like, Stephen King's such a good writer. His voice really comes through into the screenplay, and Romero does a really good job of just letting this be a Stephen King entity. You know, I think that was a smart move on the adaptation.
They work well together.
Yeah, and I think sometimes a lot of filmmakers will try to make a film their own, and sometimes that works. You know, it's kind of hit or miss with adaptation, but I think this is an example of just letting with such a powerful author like Stephen King, you just let him be Stephen King. You know, would you say this is one of the stronger Stephen King adaptations as far as a film goes?
Well, I mean, I haven't read the book, so I can't really say if it was.
I mean, as a movie, like a movie being associated with Stephen King, you know.
I think I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of good ones. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to make that. I plead the fifth.
Well, I mean, I can't really say anything either. I would have to. There's a lot I would have to revisit. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I just got the Pet Sematary soundtrack on vinyl, so now I gotta watch Pet Sematary now.
Have you never seen Pet Sematary?
No, I've seen it. Of course, that was one of the first Stephen King books I read. Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's different. Pet Sematary is more of a drama. The book, they put more horror into the movie than I thought that was kind of weird.
That's the thing that works great as a kid reading Pet Sematary. It's all everyone making the wrong decisions, and me being a 9-year-old kid reading this book. It's like my imagination just went to all the worst places, you know.
Yeah.
So, well,
let's talk about our top 5.
Yeah.
A little bit of George Romero.
Well, I would say the same as far as what we talked about with the Monkey Shines, the special features.
We got special features and stuff. The transfer looks really good looks a lot better on this one. This movie's a lot darker. What looked really, really good was during when George Stark is hunting one of the characters at his apartment. Mm-hmm. During the dark hallway sequence, that looks really, really good. So I was very impressed by that. But yeah, I think this one definitely looks a lot better. Yeah. So
this one, it works really good as far as the special features goes, as kind of like a double feature with special features, because the story of Monkey Shines, his ordeals with Orion and everything, kind of bleed into how the Dark Half came to be, and it's cool hearing the shift in how Orion shifted. The people who ran it. New people were involved, and their relationship was different. So it's cool hearing the two different, stories that kind of they very much are connected in a weird behind the scenes way. So having these two movies, it's really cool. Kind of, if you're interested in that behind the scenes stuff, it tells a really cool story of kind of how he kind of got a little bit better with the studio system. But I think this kind of these experiences kind of killed his his dealings with any more major studios. Has Romero done anything major studio since? I don't think so.
No.
So back to independent.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
I mean, I guess in a way, Land of the Dead was bigger, but I don't think that was like studio. I mean, a big studio release that.
I think they distributed it. I don't think he.
Yeah, but his hands were deep into that because that's a Romero movie through and through.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yep. All right, well, yeah, let's jump into our top 5 George Romero movies. I'm surprised when we talked to J.R. Bookwalter, we didn't go deep into Romero's filmography, did we? Because we were talking about Day of the Dead.
We just talked about his Dead films, and I think that's a good probably reason why some of these movies suffered was because. People wanted his long-awaited Dead Reckoning movie because ever since Day of the Dead come out, I mean, he said he was going to do another one, and I mean that was like 20 years later that we actually got it. So everything in between there, between Land of the Dead, kind of failed. People really, really wanted another one. And I wouldn't say like, people were, rebelling against it, but it was just, that's what people wanted.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I mean, the movie did fairly well for what it was in 2005. I mean, because zombies were coming back at that time. But yeah, I was surprised of how well it did, and it got a large opening. I mean, it made like I think when I looked, because I looked before the podcast, I think it made like $10 million its opening weekend, which is really, really good. Being for what it was, with Romero's other stats between The Dark Half and Monkey Shines and Two Evil Eyes, all those movies bombed. They bombed really, really bad.
Yeah.
So it was nice. And of course, I don't even think Bruiser was released theatrically. I just remember that coming on DVD, and I went to the video store the day it did, and I picked it up. I mean, that was a long-awaited one for me.
Well, hey, let's hear your top 5.
My top 5 Romero films?
Let's dive into it.
You've seen one too many.
Now, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
All right. I would say Creepshow would be number 5. I've always really liked Creepshow. I love anthologies. I think the stories are strong. They're different. But yeah, that's another King Romero duo that worked just really, really well. Like it has comedy, it has horror, it has drama. It just works all around. I like the setup. I like how they initiated it. I think it's strong. I think the sequel's strong as well. Of course, 4th would be Dawn of the Dead. Always fantasized about zombies taking over the world and going to a mall and having fun. As a kid, that movie blew me away, and today, it's very character driven. I love the characters in that movie. It's just a fun setting, which everybody has seen Dawn of the Dead, so I'm not going to go into much detail. Martin, that we spoke about, I love Martin. It's very dry at times, but it mixes its drama. Like I said before, everything I said before, I just put that insert here. Very dramatic. It has many horror elements that are blended together very well, and it's a decent vampire film. Of course, Day of the Dead would be number 2. I love Day of the Dead, again, with the characters. Everything, I basically go back to our J.R. Bookwalter episode where we spoke about Day of the Dead and An Incredible Melting Man. Day of the Dead's gritty, it's raw, it's completely different from the other. I mean, every zombie film that he's done until Land of the Dead and everything after kind of falls short and kind of the same movie. But it's just the steady, just pummeling of people and how people act and just society. Just this awful, like, just declining, sense of, it's just people just don't care, and it's just like they only want for themselves, and I like that movie because it's two different groups of characters pitted against one another, and zombies are kind of the subplot.
Right.
And I mean, zombies are kind of the subplot in all the movies, or from night, dawn, and day. But even Land, there's this social working class group and hardworking group like in Land of the Dead. In Day of the Dead, it's military versus scientists, but it's people that actually still want the Earth to move. There's other people that just want violence. Dawn of the Dead is people just trying to survive against people out there and everything. I don't know. It's definitely a lot of what would you say? Kind of not civil, but I don't know, just neighbor versus neighbor type situations in a lot of these movies. And my first and foremost, people laugh, but I just mentioned it, is Bruiser. I love Bruiser. It's weird. Jason Fleming gets a lead role, people. Like, he's my all-time favorite actor. He gets a freaking leading role, finally. After everything he's been through, all his, like, one-offs of being, you know, little side characters or the funny guy, he finally gets a big movie. And I love that. I love it being a horror film as well. I like how he got to that point in his life. He actually played a lead in another film. It's so hard to fucking find, but it's really good. It's a French sci-fi action adventure comedy called The Return of James Battle, and he plays James Battle. Yeah, it's a really weird alien invasion action movie. But it's like huge budget too, but it just didn't ever see the light of day. But yeah, he just plays the character really well. It's got a bunch of it feels like Romero went back to the 80s. And I think people kind of pushed it off because they were thinking it was kind of from the cover. It was, you know, a Michael Myers Halloween ripoff.
Right.
But it's it's an idea from Romero. It's about a guy who's walked on just so much. I mean, people just walk all over him. He's mistreated by his wife, and through that, his identity is stolen. But his identity being his face, so he literally has a white mask that is not removable on his face, and the only way to get his identity back is to fix who has wronged him. And it's a very, very interesting story. It does have some slasher elements. It is corny, but also the Misfits did the fucking music for it.
No.
And they actually have a huge cameo in it because there's this at the end at the party, they're the band on stage. They did some songs just for the movie, and a song called Bruiser that's really, really good. And actually, the payment is that George Romero direct a Misfits music video, and he did. He directed their music video called "Scream," which is in the hospital, a bunch of zombies awake and stuff like that. So yeah, Bruiser's my number one. I always get flack for that because people hold it as one of Romero's lower films, but I don't know. It was from '93 was The Dark Half to 2000. I was a kid, man. I wanted a Romero film because I wasn't going to the theater and seeing these Romero films when they were released. I caught them all later. So when I found a director that I loved, and Romero is one of the very first directors that I would say I would discovered on my own. This is before IMDb and all that kind of stuff. Is that I think I mentioned this before on the podcast. I was in my room and I had a bunch of movies and they were all alphabetical order VHS tapes. And then I noticed that Romero's name was on 3 of them and they were all zombie movies. And I'm like, holy shit, the same guy did all these movies. And then I discovered, Monkey Shines and stuff like that. And I don't know, it felt good because I discovered something on my own before, the internet could tell me, or just a click of a button to find out what was going on. And so when I, had horror magazines, Fangoria, all this stuff, and Bruiser was in there, and I'm like, oh man, this sounds really good. I'm actually going to get to see it. And I went to Movie Gallery, which Blockbuster didn't have it. Movie Gallery had 1 copy. And I rented it that night, and I fell in love with that movie ever since. So I have a different history with it. I mean, it was the very first Romero film that I got to see released at that time. Right? Because I missed Two Evil Eyes as well, because I didn't even know that existed until a few years ago. I didn't even know that was a Romero Argento duo. But yeah, I just discovered it on my own. I really, really like the movie, and Jason Fleming has always been a favorite of mine. He's a good actor. He's a good character actor. He's in fucking X-Men, for Christ's sakes. Like he's in the new he's in X-Men First Class as the Azazel or whatever. Yeah. He's just good at he just comes out of nowhere. He's in big Hollywood films. He's in small little independent things, and this is a leading role in a horror film directed by George Romero. So I don't know. It's just so many pluses for me.
He's in Solomon Kane.
Yeah, no, he's in a ton of things. He's even worked with Guy Ritchie on a lot of his movies. He's in Layer Cake. He plays the Larry guy or whatever. But one thing again with Romero is that during this time, I mentioned that I waited like 7 years, or whenever I very, very first discovered George Romero, probably when I was like 9 or 10. So it would probably be 7 years. I waited for a George Romero movie. But during that time, we were promised so many other movies from Romero. He was attached to Resident Evil. Like, I remember reading the screenplay that was released, that leaked online. I read George Romero's screenplay to Resident Evil. It was terrible. But, retrospect, because he literally took the video game and put it in a movie instead of making his own thing. But yeah, he was attached to that. He had a video game that died. It was called City of the Dead. They released a trailer and a release date. But then eventually it all fell through. Like, Tom Savini was one of the voices of the lead characters. Romero wrote the story. It was kind of a sequel to Day of the Dead. And it was going to play off the survivors and survival, but it failed. He was trying at the time, now it's called Land of the Dead, but before it was called Land of the Dead, it was called Dead Reckoning. Mm-hmm. And it was about a bunch of survivors that got this bus together and reinforced it and went over. And that's what Romero said. He's just like, they're in a bus. It's a traveling movie, like they travel around in Pennsylvania trying to get survivors, stuff like that. But yeah, it was just a long, long time coming. And I guess that's why I like Bruiser a lot. It was my dip into Romero when Romero was kind of being shit on. Yeah. And eventually he did Land of the Dead, which I love. That would be like my number 6 if I could. I love Land of the Dead. I thought it was very, very well done. I mean, it's John Leguizamo, Simon Baker, and Asia Argento. I mean, seriously, come on, fucking Dennis Hopper. Yeah, like it's got a killer cast. It's just everything you want. In these types of movies, everybody has kind of nicknames and shit like that. Like, everything's just gone to shit. It's the world's done. They're trying to recreate your own. The zombies are starting to learn, which was kind of cool because we have done the same thing 3 times already. We kind of got that with Bub. The zombies can learn. I thought that in watching those as a standalone, Land of the Dead wouldn't work, but as a quadrilogy, watching those building up, it does. Yeah. I really dig that. But the past, I remember when, he was going to do Twilight of the Dead as well, and that eventually became Diary, and Diary isn't very good. It's not good at all, actually. And then Survival of the Dead, which I absolutely disliked quite a bit. I know people really, really like that one, but I just
that one was... most people didn't like it.
No, but that's the thing is, I think it's one of those things that it came back. Like, people are like, "Oh, Survival's not that bad because Diary." I think they're comparing it to Diary.
Well, compared to Diary, I mean, I own them all.
Horses.
I own them all.
They're fucking riding horses in the movie.
Yeah, they've learned how to ride horses, Brad.
Yeah.
Well, I think all my top 5 are in your top 5.
Oh. Well, there you go.
Except I would put The Dark Half, I think, up there just because I was surprised.
You're gonna take Bruiser out, aren't you?
Well, I haven't seen Bruiser, dude. So
you just took out Bruiser. Podcast is over.
I just took out Bruiser, put in The Dark Half, and then you have my list. But I was talking to you before. God, I'm bumping into my microphone here.
Stop pumping your mic.
Yeah, pumping it. I was talking to you before we started recording, and there's, I'm surprised that I haven't seen some of these movies. Like I own the Knight Riders Blu-ray from that.
Yeah, Knight Riders is really good too.
But I haven't watched it yet, so I can't compare.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the original. I've seen The Crazies, the remake, but I have not seen the original, which is backwards on my part.
You're not missing, but honestly, I mean, they have kind of a small idea of a virus taking over the town.
Yeah.
But it's not a good movie.
Okay.
Like, I have never met anybody that has liked The Crazies.
Huh.
And
I like the remake. I mean, Timothy Oliphant, man. But yeah. But I mean, so I haven't seen those. I did want to. I mean, I would say Martin would be at the top of my list. I think out of all Romero's movies, I mean, I like the zombie movies; they're great and all, but I think Martin, it's one of those movies that I would hope that he would come back with something similar to that, because I think it's such an original idea and it's so well done, and it generally like it gives genuine kind of creeps to me. You know what I mean? It gives me the creeps. The way it's handled and the realism, it feels real. I think more than a lot of his movies. So I would say Martin. If you haven't seen Martin, definitely check it out. And I don't know if it's available on DVD or anything. I might have the DVD.
No, it's available on DVD.
But it's definitely one of his movies that I would say if you haven't seen Martin, give it a shot. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, he did a movie. It's not too bad. You can get it on DVD. It's Season of the Witch, which is also called I forget the other alternate title, but the DVD's Season of the Witch. The movie's not that bad. It's just kind of a witchcraft type movie. It's really dry and slow. It's really, really long. And
not the Nick Cage one, right?
No, this is like 1972. Jesus, he was in a movie called Season of the Witch.
Yeah, and not the Halloween, not Halloween 3 either. There's a newish movie called Season of the Witch. It's
fucking Nick Cage
awful.
Knowledge is crazy.
It's a horrible movie.
But on that DVD with Season of the Witch, you get Romero's film after he did Night of the Living Dead, which is called There's Always Vanilla, which is a drama that I just couldn't finish. It's just I was just overly bad. I still haven't finished it to this day. It's just really, really bad. And of course, Night Riders is something I didn't mention, but Night Riders is really, really fun. It's really good. That's another long movie. Romero is good at making epic movies, because I know that Night Riders is like 2.5 hours for real, and that's no lie. Yeah, you can look that up.
I'm looking it up right now.
Night Riders is
holy shit! Wow, yeah.
How long is it?
146 minutes.
There you go. That's pretty damn close to 2 hours and 30 minutes.
That's epic.
That's a pause bathroom break, so that makes that movie go 2.5 hours.
For me, that's a 2-nighter. I can't sit and watch 2.5 hours.
And then, of course, Two Evil Eyes, which I actually just got in. Blue Underground sent me a press copy. Oddly enough, it's been out for years. But I actually wrote a review on it because I haven't seen it on Blue. I saw it long ago. Well, not that long ago, actually, probably just a few years ago, and it's a fun little movie. It feels like Creepshow at times.
Yeah, it's like two stories, right?
Yeah, it's Argento and Romero made a movie together,
nice.
And I don't know why this isn't bigger. It bombed at the box office, and it bombed when it went to video, but it's actually pretty decent. The only problem with the movie is that Argento's segment isn't as strong as Romero's, of course, but there's it's about a cat, and there's a lot of it's not really cat, they're not really torturing a cat, but there's a lot of cat torture in it, and it's hard to watch at times because the cat does seem like it's being tortured because they did a really, really good job.
Yeah, but
it's weird, and I never saw Romero's documentary about O.J. Simpson.
Oh yeah, that's weird. He did a documentary on O.J. Simpson. I wanted to bring that up.
I could probably find
Juice on the Loose.
Yeah, that's right. It's called Juice on the Loose. Yeah, I've never watched that, but I imagine it's about O.J. Simpson and the Juice is Loose. I don't know.
Juice is Loose, man.
I don't know what that's like.
1974. This was before all the shit went down. This was early. This is when people liked O.J. Simpson. Yeah.
This is like in the 70s. But we mentioned. Since we're on the subject of Romero and everything, and I mentioned it on the J.R. Bookwalter show. I mentioned this, but since we have more listeners that might not, listen to past episodes, there was a documentary that came out earlier this year called "Birth of the Living Dead."
Yeah,
and it is so good. It is the ins and outs of everything, like a very conclusive story of Night of the Living Dead, and Romero is just fantastic in it. Such a good storyteller. Such a just the way he speaks, you're just a droning, automatic, you're like a grandpa sitting on his knee, just telling a story that's actually exciting and worth listening to. But
Sorry, excuse me. Let me mark this down. Gotta edit that sneeze out.
No, you're gonna leave that in there. People know how you ruin things. But have we? Because I know last episode we mentioned that there's a George Romero documentary coming out about all the Dead movies. Did we hear anything about that? Because I never saw that actually came out.
I thought there was a couple on Netflix. There's Birth of the Dead, but then there's
Birth of the Living Dead was something else. But
yeah, I don't know.
I know we mentioned it, but I didn't hear anything else about it. So I don't know what's going on.
Who knows? Yeah, I don't know.
Yawn.
I don't know.
I yawned.
All right. Well, with that yawn, I think we better start drawing this conversation to a close. So Monkey Monkey Shines.
There you go. Now you're coughing.
I know, man. Ugh.
Are you sick? You have a cold?
I'm not. No. Monkey Shines and The Dark Half, both available through Scream Factory. I would say I would recommend a full price if for The Dark Half is worth it. But I would say it's almost like wait and see if you can get both of these for a discounted price, because I think they work well together. But I wouldn't pay full price for both of them, if you know what I'm saying. That would be my recommendation.
But that Pompeii is looking good.
Fuck you.
I'm just saying. Just saying. I mean, we talked about Resident Evil, which is probably Paul Anderson's best work.
I love bad movies, though. I can find enjoyment. I knew Pompeii wasn't going to be good, but I can find enjoyment out of it. But it did not keep it. It did not earn its place on my shelf. It earned the eBay stack. So, what are you going to do?
So
you win some, you lose some, people.
It's called The Definitive Document of the Dead, and it's about Dawn of the Dead, actually. But it's not, I'm on Blu-ray.com. It was supposed to come out November 11th, but the link is dead. There's no price, so maybe that got canned.
That's unfortunate. Or maybe, hopefully, just pushed back or something,
Yeah. Wait, The Definitive Document of the Dead... That's a Synapse release. What the fuck is going on? No, Synapse did a limited edition of that.
Really?
Yeah. No, yeah. There's a documentary about Dawn of the Dead that they did. Synapse did. It was a limited edition to 1,000 or something, and it was on Blu-ray. That's what this is. Are they re-release? I guess they're trying to re-release it. Maybe I don't know.
I want to say this is on Netflix, man. I want to say this is on Netflix.
Yeah, there you go. Well, watch that. I actually haven't seen it. I'm gonna watch that because I really like Birth of the Living Dead, and I like to hear Romero talk. So, but anyways, all right, that was for nothing. Podcast is over.
Boom.
Good
boom.
night.
No, we're not quitting just yet. We got a few things to plug.
I'm still here.
Of course, you can hear us on oneofus.net. Head over there and check out all their other shows there, and you can also, if you're in the UK, and follow nerdly.co.uk, you can find our show each week there. But our show first will be posting on oneofus.net exclusively, so check that out there. But you can also find the back episodes on thescreamcast.com. Music by Wolfmen of Mars. Go to wolfmenofmars.bandcamp.com. They have a new album coming out, I believe, in spring of 2015, called via Poisoned Mind Records. I think that's going to get a vinyl release, which I'm stoked about. But you can hear their new single, All Those Terrible Times, over at their Bandcamp. So the music that you hear on our show got worked into the album somehow. So you'll be able to hear the final song that they wrote, when they were writing us music. So that'll be awesome. I'm looking forward to checking out the final product. And I think that's it. Did I plug everything that needs to be plugged?
Yes.
All right.
And you guys need to prepare, because I think we're going to be doing some Christmas episodes coming out.
Oh yeah. Yep. We'll be talking some Christmas horror soon. You have to get sound effects
like jingle bells and stuff.
Okay. I
work on that.
Right now there's jingle bells and snow. No, wait, snow doesn't make a sound.
Fucking snow. Sean, are you on drugs?
No.
You need to be.
All right, and with that.
No, seriously, no. Jingle bells and what? You said snow. Snow bells?
I said the sound of snow, but then I was like, wait, you can't hear snow. It may be like wind, like right? That's a blizzard sound.
Well, let's just stick to jingle bells. Good night.
All right, everybody. Talk to all of you next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Oh, don't tell me you're leaving. The party's just begun.